Well, the convention was awesome. And as we knew before we went to convention, Reverend Chad Groverin is no longer the CEO and president of Unity Worldwide Ministries, and he's put forth several videos on Facebook about how there was not his vision and the board's vision were not in sync, and that they tried to reconcile that, and he recognized that that this was the best decision. That it was a difficult decision for them to make, but it was the best. And he was at convention. I got to see Shad and Arena, and again to thank them so much for having come here and led the Power Focus ministry. I really love them very much. Go ahead. He's in the question of what's next. So I don't know if he'll lead a church or I don't know. He's an ordained minister. Monday, those are graduation ceremony. 62 new ministers. Our own Reverend Margie Hyatt was ordained on that day. And actually she was ordained earlier, but she was celebrated that day. 36 new licensed Unity teachers. And the ones that were trained in the U.S., either through the Detroit School or Field Ministry Program or UWSI, Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute, I knew them because I've been on the credentialing team. So I've been interviewing them twice a year and seeing their incredible growth. And I tell you, these candidates who are new ministers, Unity has nothing to worry about. They're savvy, they're smart, they're creative, great, great, great folks. So this just shows our strength. It's really beautiful. My mentee, Reverend Khalif Mulholland at Unity Corpus Christi, we're praying for them. He was ordained. Also, in the program, a Unity minister is linked with a candidate through all of their training doing one-on-one interviews. That way there's one person who's tracking their progress as they go. And I was the one-on-one evaluator for Wally, and he was ordained. And he was selected by the student body to give the student valedictorian address, and he did a great job. It was just wonderful, and I'm so proud. It's like seeing all these people I've worked with go across the street. It's like my little chickens, they're growing up. It's very exciting. It really is very exciting. Currently, I'm the one-on-one evaluator for Chastine Lawrence and Cheryl Driscoll, so I continue to do that work with them. What? I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't recall. The convention this year was the mystical journey of wholeness. I can see clearly now. It was created as a retreat style. So at last year's convention, they separated the annual business meeting from the annual convention in June. The issue being for finances, it's a calendar year finance. So at June, to have a convention where you're approving the budget a year and a half away didn't really make sense. So anyway, they separated. So now the annual business meeting will be virtual and in November. And so the convention can be different things. And this year they did it as a retreat style at Unity Village. So you could choose a contemplative track or a physical, go outside, hiking kind of track, or a creative track, or so it was, and you didn't have to stick with one track. You could do different things if you wanted. So some things that I learned. I also didn't know that Silent Unity wasn't doing 24/7 phone call coverage. I didn't know, but I did find out that starting World Day of Prayer this year, which is September 11th through 12th, they're going to reinstate 24/7 phone coverage for Silent Unity. The grounds, I've been to Unity Village for years, and it used to just hurt my heart to see the deferred maintenance, crumbling foundations and neglected structures. All of that's gone. The place is like a shiny diamond, and it's just amazing. So the tower, that's the administrative building, the fountains, they had flowers growing everywhere, absolutely everywhere. These are small pictures, but that's the fountains looking down, and across the fountains to the activity center that's being completely remade. That's the Peace Chapel, one of my favorite places at Unity Village, but there were just flowers and fountains and quite wonderful. They have built a permanent labyrinth, which is there pictured. It's brick and stone. It's really quite wonderful. And then they've upgraded the signage and where things are, and it's just really, really beautiful. They've converted multiple of the old Hobbit-looking buildings into, they really do look Hobbit-ish, into Airbnbs. And so that's very successful. And the activity center, which is the largest sanctuary, they gutted it and they're redoing it as an event center. And there's actually a video on YouTube. It's just going to be spectacular. Unity World Headquarters, that's the organization that runs Unity Village. Silent Unity, the publications, the physical area. Unity Worldwide Ministries, which is the umbrella organization that supports all the ministries, us, and trains and credentials all licensed Unity teachers and ministers. Now they're all housed at Unity Village. They'll never be the same one organization because they're businesses that have different they do different functions. But what they have done is where they can share, like marketing. They can have one person that's hired by both of them to do marketing for both of them, janitorial or whatever. So they've combined forces, and there's lots of space at Unity Village for them to expand and do what they do. The board, this is a little picture of the board. It's quite a diverse board. Is looking at, they recognize that we've been through a lot of changes. And when you've been through a lot of changes, it's a good idea to do your vision, mission, core values again to see where are we now? What's our refined vision of who and what we are now? And so they're going to be looking at that in the future. That's also something we're going to be looking at in the near future for ourselves, because we've been through a lot of changes since we had created our vision, mission, core value. Now, the first day of the retreat, so after graduation, I chose the contemplative, and it was a day of Restore My Soul retreat. It was led by Reverend Paulette Pipe, who I just adore. She was the keeper of the flame on the Unity Worldwide Ministries board for many years. She has a business touching the stillness, and it was a day of meditation and small group processing, and then you could go off and choose. There was a series of electives that were all in line with Restore My Soul, and then it closed with this wonderful ceremony of anointing each other. It was chicken skin, really beautiful. So the elective I chose was spiritual journaling. This was very exciting and inspirational because I had never journaled this way before. And what it was described was to ask in your journal, to ask a question, get something off your chest, and write it like you're writing it to God. Then meditate, and then go back and write the answer. And it's amazing when you put it out there, then what comes through you as an answer to whatever you've written down. It was really quite, so it was led by James McCain, I think is his name, And he said, you can write this with your thoughts, you can write it with your dreams, you can write it with your visions, your devotions, like from daily word or from scripture or whatever, to this spiritual journal writing. It was something I had never been exposed to before, and I liked it. Then the next day was actually Juneteenth. It was a wonderful, in Kansas City, there's a large group of traditional African dancers and drummers, and they came and did a spectacular presentation with great enthusiasm, just got us all excited and up and moving. And then there was a possibility, I went to it, going to the convention helped satisfy my continuing education units. And we have general continuing education units, and also we have to take a unit in inclusivity and in ethics. And so I went to the presentation that was a theatrical presentation on the African American history that was done in a storytelling style with someone being Reverend Johnny Coleman and Reverend Ruth Mosley. Ruth Mosley started the urban school, the Unity Detroit School, which is still a very active training. In fact, any candidate in the ministry program can take classes at the urban school or at Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute. And it was funny and full of the history of these dynamic women. Johnny Coleman was the first black woman to attend Unity Village, which she had a hard time because she couldn't live on campus. She had to commute in, and that was very hard for her, very dramatic. But it was shared with humor and lightness and storytelling. It was a wonderful presentation. Then I took, during our time there, I took a elective in the Journey into Experiential Learning with Reverend Diane Vanzera and Reverend Lori Irwin Johnson. Now this is, they're changing the entire way that licensed Unity teachers and ministers are being trained. The whole program is being changed. And it's based on a learning model that's quite solid and out there in the world. It's an interactive experience with this mode of learning. The program requires demonstration of the material. This is the basis of the redesign of minister and licensed Unity training, and it was launched at the convention. And the model is new ministers that are admitted and new licensed Unity teachers that are admitted will be in the same cohort. They'll do projects together, they'll connect together, they'll support each other. And then after the first year, licensed Unity teachers will split off as their own cohort as they take the art of teaching classes, the teaching stuff. And then the ministers will go off and they'll learn the church stuff, because they're going to eventually be ordained ministers and those are going to be licensed Unity teachers. This learning model, we actually had an experience of it. All teaching will be adapted into this model, and it really is the way Unity started. The way Unity started was read License and Truth and demonstrate how those principles work in your life. Not just read it and write a paper. You have to demonstrate it. And that's what this learning model is. So it changes how things are taught. And so it'll start with this, and then they'll train everyone, ministers and licensed Unity teachers, to train that way when they teach the spiritual education enrichment classes as well. I think it's just very exciting. I'm fully on with it. I totally support it. I think it's a great idea. The next thing I attended was the Unity South Central Region meeting. Our region is the largest region in the Unity movement. We go from the Dakotas to Texas to New Mexico to Missouri. I mean, it's a huge swath. Lots of churches, lots of schools. We're a very wealthy region. Uh, with all those churches, with the tithes that come in, they're able to do a lot for the entire unity movement. During COVID, the Fishes and Loaves, uh, I think we gave $200,000 to the Fishes and Loaves fund to help unity churches that were having trouble during COVID. Anyway, they have ongoing support calls online. There's a licensed Unity teacher support call. Our own Linda Gillespie is on the board of the Unity South Central region. And there's a business mastermind. There's diversity, equity, inclusivity, and justice, the Power Focus Ministry support calls. These are all online and you can attend them in person, but if you can't make them in person, they're recorded and online and you can watch them afterwards. They're just, it's wonderful and it's open to anyone in the Unity movement. They're really wonderful. And what they said is that they're looking to add some more support calls because they've been so successful. It's really helped a lot of people. So that's, I just love our region. They really do some great work. Then I took a Finding the Comic in You with Reverend Sean Moniger. He's a great guy. He has done stand-up comedy and he's a successful Unity minister. And I found it was a wonderful presentation about the need to be authentic, to be aware of what your appearance is, how you dress, what you say. And then your words are important. The words you choose are important. And he said, never, ever, ever do your therapy on the platform. If you got a problem, don't work it out with your congregation. I'm really having a problem. I don't know what to do with it. He said, do that elsewhere. And he said, videotape yourself and look at what they're seeing. See yourself, you know. And he said, funny should be fun. Not at anyone's expense, but just fun. It was really a good workshop. I got a lot out of it. Next year's convention is Leadership Intelligence Leading with Insight and Innovation. The keynote speaker and guide in this will be Jim Rosemergy, who I love and adore. He's a great Unity minister. He's written many books. The convention will be June 16th to 19th in Overland Park. It'll be a traditional convention with workshops and keynote speakers and vendors and that model. And I will be going to that as well. And I wanted to see if anyone has any questions or comments. Yes, Roger. Oh.
For 75 years. And it did get pretty bad shape for a while, so I'm glad to hear what you go back now and see, kind of go back home to what they've done to it. Because even 3 years ago, when I was there last, it was not in good shape.
They've done amazing work. And of course it's ongoing, but yeah. I didn't see it, those fences that used to be kind of wonky. It's like all clean and stable, and it was just beautiful. Just beautiful.
If you ever get a chance, you need to go, because he's underestimated it. It used to be so beautiful. And if it's back to what it was, it's so worth the trip.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I didn't really, you might have covered this, but Unity is trying to define itself right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so, from what I've read and listened to some other people on YouTube and whatnot, they're trying to decide if we want to continue to be based in the Fillmore's teachings, correct? Or can you explain kind of what?
No, the 5 pillars are very foundational to how we identify ourselves. That's the Fillmores, that's integral ministry, it's experiential, it's spirit center, heart, prayer.
Be considered more or less Christian, correct? I mean, that, or are they trying to move away from Christianity?
There's not a movement away from Christianity. There's a handful of ministers who have a trigger experience to the word Christian and don't identify to the traditional Christian, and I don't either. We are a Christian community here in New Braunfels, and I align with Myrtle and Charles. They called themselves practical Christians. And that's what I identify. And if anyone asks what that is, it's we look to Jesus as a master teacher and take what he taught as how we should live our lives. Forgive, 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 love, have mercy and peace, and be of service to others. And forgive again. And forgive some more.
The word church. Is it a church or a spiritual center? You know, is it church?
Many years ago, religious science and unity shared the bill for an outside service to explore those ideas. And and it was very expensive, big money. And they came back and they said, millennials do not like the word church. So as we grow, the word church will be a distasteful word to younger folks. It's not distasteful to older folks. But they said, as you grow, as you move, everyone in your congregations is not going to identify with church. Religious science collectively decided we will change right now. Every religious science church is Center for Spiritual Living. They did it everybody had, if you were a religious science church, you had to change your name to Center for Spiritual Living of Santa Rosa or New Braunfels or Chicago or whatever. Unity did not decide to do that. They did the identity program and gave people the right to choose whether they wanted to align with the identity program, which is unity of New Braunfels, unity of Corpus Christi, unity whatever, eliminating the word church. But it was a choice. And some churches, like Unity Church of Maui, they wouldn't do Unity of Maui. They're Unity Church of Maui, Unity Church of Hawaii. So we've got some rebels in the Aloha State. They didn't want to take the name church out. Thank you very much. So that's quite a while ago, and that was based on a huge amount of research in two different organizations that chose to handle it a different way. But more and more churches have aligned with the Unity Special Identity Program, which is that logo with the little ball over the sea. Yes.
Well, this is a very churchy community. We have more churches in New Braunfels than others.
Right.
Yeah. But we, to me, we're kind of moving towards spiritual community rather than church. Here. Kind of.
We are a spiritual community, and in most of our way of looking at it, how many here identified that we're a church? How many identified that we're a spiritual community? So there's a half and half. We are a spiritual community, and that spiritual community you could also call church. Sure.
Some people I call it church. Friends of mine who are about my age, late 60s, early 70s, I call it church. Other people I call it a spiritual community. It just depends on the person. So to me, it's got love.
Yes.
And that can be applied to the current occupants around who we are.
Yes.
Who's your audience, and that's how you communicate.
The basic issue, I think, is there's been so many changes at Unity, Central Unity. The way we train our ministers, the way how many staff we have, how we're working together with Unity World Headquarters and what we're not working together with Unity World Headquarters. Huge changes. And what happens when humans change? There's feelings that happen, there's stuff that happens. It's just human nature. And we have a wonderful tradition in Unity of using the group understanding to decide what are we about? What's our vision? What's our mission? What's our core values? And what's our strategic plan? And so the Unity Worldwide Ministries Board is getting ready to do that process. Yes, Steve?
In Galveston City, we were members of the Catholic Church of Religious Science, and we went through that process of the name change. And there was some people that had been in religious science for a long time there, and they kind of, I was president on the board at this particular time, so I had to deal with those people that fighting the change, and those that looked at it a different way. So we kind of got around it. So when we changed our signage and everything, it looked like Galveston Center for Spiritual Living, a religious science community. And it seemed to please both sides of the equation.
That's kind of what we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. So, that changed. One of the exciting things that happened in religious science is there were two separate religious science. There's Religious Science and Religious Science International or something. And when they made this change of the Center for Spiritual Living, the two organizations came back together. So that was a good thing, because it satisfied their desires.
The Worldwide Ministries, I noticed that Reverend Diane Kruger was up there. And my sister goes to a Center for Spiritual Living down in Florida, Cape Coral, and Diane Kruger is from that area, and she comes periodically as a guest speaker. And, you know, she's a Unity minister. And
Well, about actually 7 years ago, because when I was looking for a job, they had decided that they made it a much easier path for a Unity minister to go work at a Center for Spiritual Living or a Center for Spiritual Living minister to work at a Unity church with very little. That's right.
So it's like, do you think there's, in the future, there's any opportunity to merge those organizations?
I don't think so, because it's more like we're family. We're very close cousins. Same spiritual thought and principles, but Owen and I started in religious. My first new thought was attending a religious science church. So that was my introduction to New Thought. But rather than prayer, it's spiritual treatment. Rather than, it just, they look at things different. And I don't think at a base, religious science identifies with being Christian. They'll look to the teachings of Jesus, but they don't identify as being a Christian faith, where Unity tends to.
Maybe I should wait for our quarterly Power Focus Ministries to ask, but I've been getting emails for Power Focus Ministries support group sessions, and you know, I wasn't sure what they were about, or you know, I thought maybe it was better if we were gonna done at a group level from the church here. I
It's
didn't know if you had any
it's
plans.
hard for people to hear, and it doesn't work for the recording at all. So if you could summarize what people say, that would be helpful.
Okay. Uh, okay. So this was concerning the Power Focus Ministry support calls. They're ongoing. They do them every month, and anyone can go to anyone that's done the Power Focus Ministry can attend. And you hear successes and anyone having a challenge. It's very helpful. It's very informative. It's something we could choose to do as a group, but any individual who's been through that process can attend it. Yeah. It would be only the people who had done the Power Focus ministry on that Thursday who would attend that group of people, the 20 people who did that. But the support calls is an opportunity for people to share successes or challenges, and you get to hear how it's working in the broader field than just so you could attend one and then go to our quarterly meetings and say, well, this is what I heard as a suggestion or what. So it'd be a way for each of us to be informed, but chances are getting all the people to attend one support call won't happen because we are like herding cats. But everyone who attended that will get that email. Yes. I don't know. He doesn't know. He's not going to be leading it anymore. He is not going to be leading it anymore. The question was, is Reverend Chad going to continue to lead the Power and Focus ministry? And he's not. And whether it will continue or not is a question that the Unity Worldwide Ministries Board needs to decide. I am so glad we got to do it before it stopped because it's extremely valuable. Anything else? And the last slide I have is I will be going with Owen on sabbatical to Ajijic, Ajijic, Mexico. I'll be the minister in residence the first 2 weeks, so I'll speak 2 Sundays, Sunday the 4th and the 11th, and teach a class workshop. And I'm going to take that prayer for protection booklet, and we'll talk about the prayer for protection in the booklet and the stuff in that. It's easy. And then from the 11th to the 22nd, Owen and I are going to be on vacation. We rented a casita and we'll be in town and do whatever our spirit leads us to do. So it's a intentional community that was established by James Twyman, who's a musician and writer and videographer. He's a great guy. About 8 years ago, something like that, he bought a bed and breakfast there and converted it into a living space and added on building. And so there's been a group of people that live there all the time, and then people who come and stay there. And from the get-go, James wanted a Unity church there. So there's Unity Namaste that's there, that's run by Reverend Johannes Herzog and her husband Jack Herzog, Hartog, by a vowel. And then what they do is they have a casita for a minister. And so once a month, a unity minister comes in and they do the talks on Sunday and lead a class on Monday. And then James does a Course of Miracles with the community every morning. And the person who was going to be coming in August could only do the last 2 weeks, which gave me the opportunity to come and do it for 2 weeks. Reverend Margie's been there a couple of times. Linda Martell Whitsitt, after she was with us, she went down for a month and she was there. A whole bunch of ministers about do it, but that allows that part of the ministry to be handled and have that influence for that community. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it, and it's been wonderful picking Margie's brain about places to do, things to see, and stuff. So that is that. Thank you for coming to our town hall.